Hello, welcome to He's Hot, but Something Is Off with me, just Joey T. I am rushing to record this week's podcast because it's Wednesday as I record this, actually 8:30 at night, and the episode actually goes up at midnight. So right when Thursday begins at 12 a.m. Pacific time here on the West Coast in the US, that's when I always schedule the podcast episode to go up. And I used to record on Tuesday afternoons, early in the evening, sometime before dinner, so that I can take my time to edit it later that night or even Wednesday morning, that I can upload it and everything is ready well before. I knew I had to record it today, but yesterday I was just busy doing other things, actual work. And I was working today as well, working, and suddenly I realized it's 8 o'clock, it's 8 p.m. And I went to start getting dinner ready. And then I realized, oh shit, I haven't recorded the podcast. So dinner is cooking itself in the kitchen. There is rice in the rice cooker. And there is chicken and tomatoes in the toaster oven. So by the time I finish recording this in about 20 to 30 minutes, dinner will be ready. But I was like, oh shit, I forgot to record the podcast. And it's Wednesday already. And all my lights and everything, this is the setup I told you guys last week about these new lights that I got. And I also have a ring light that I've had for years. And I have this table and I've got the recorder, the mixer for my podcast, but everything was moved around. All the lights were moved around. The podcasting stuff was kind of sort of put away. It disconnected everything. But I was using the lights and this camera to take photos of the products for the other business that I've been starting up, which I'm still not revealing that yet, but it's gonna be really exciting. I've set myself a deadline for the end of the month or / October 1st to actually have the website be ready, to have the product listings be ready, to have the Instagram account be ready and presentable and have some posts already on it. For the blog, there's a blog that goes along with the official website, and for everything to be purchasable on Instagram and also on the website and also on Amazon. So that's basically the bundle of milestones. All of that stuff is like the launch. It's like the launch milestone. And later on, I think I want to get it onto TikTok for the TikTok shop there as well. But Instagram, the website, and Amazon, that is the aim. So I'm going to be working really hard this month. And once I hit that milestone, hopefully I hit it by September 30th, October 1st, end of the month. Once we hit that milestone and it's ready to go, then I will officially announce it everywhere that I can. I'll announce it to you all on this podcast. It'll be on my personal Instagram. I can start doing the thing that popular, actually successful podcasters do, where they insert ads into the actual recording of the podcast, not just because YouTube is putting an ad in or Spotify is putting an ad in, but I could actually do that. In the very, very early episodes of this podcast, which on the back end is hosted not just on YouTube, but on Spotify, and on Spotify's podcasting platform, that's how it distributes out to Apple Music and all the other podcasting places and apps that you can listen to your podcasts on. But really early on, when I first started this podcast, they had much lower requirements for allowing Spotify to insert ads into your podcast. And the only ad that ever ran was Spotify for podcasters. So I think only very early on in this podcast life, Spotify raised the threshold for who is eligible to monetize their podcast, i.e., who can have ads injected into their podcast. So, Spotify doesn't inject any ads into the podcast anymore. If you're watching this on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Just Joey T, is monetized. Therefore, it can insert ads into any of the videos that I upload if it matches their criteria, of which there's a bunch. So yeah, there it is. Okay, what I was working. Oh wait, before I go any further, I have to say one thing. I mentioned in last week's podcast, at the end of last week's podcast, that I had an Amazon wish list, and there were a pair of wireless earbuds that I really wanted, which was like the only thing on that wish list. I shit you not, literally 2 days later, I think on Saturday or Sunday, over the weekend, I got an email from Amazon notifying me that someone had purchased me those earbuds. And the person who bought me these earbuds left me a super, super lovely message. And this is the little gift tag with the message in it that Amazon attached to the headphones. So Amazon actually threw it into this little like gift bag, which is kind of cute. And they put this little gift card, if you will, and they printed the person's message. They wrote a message. And I'm not going to mention the person's name or location because I don't know if this person wants to be like all whatever. But this person, they said, "Hey there, glad to have an opportunity to gift this to you. I've been watching and lurking your YouTube videos since 2018. Thanks for making them and keeping me entertained. Enjoy." So, this person, you know who you are. Can you please reach out to me? Like, leave a comment on the YouTube channel so that I can like DM you back. Message me on Instagram. I have an Instagram. Message me on TikTok. I have a TikTok. I'm just turning this into a plug for all the platforms that I'm on. If you're on my OF, send me a message. If you're on I have a Twitter. Can you just please comment or reach out to me some way, shape, or form? Because I want to thank you in person for buying me these, honestly, not inexpensive earbuds. They're not the most expensive, but they were definitely not cheap. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate so much. I used them for the first time this week at the gym. And with the AirPods that I had previously, which were fine, the AirPod Pros are not shabby. They keep falling out of my ear. So literally every 5 minutes, I would have to like push them back into my ear. And if I ever do cable crunches on my knees, they will always fall out. And these don't move at all. So these are so awesome, so great. This person, I have your name here, so I know who you are, kind of. Can you please reach out to me? Because I just want to thank you in person somehow. So just please get in touch. So I don't have anything else I want to buy, really. It's still a little weird to accept gifts from fans in a way. Because it's weird to like get something from people that I don't really know without giving them something in return. At least with the OF, it's like, oh, I'm offering you content and all these benefits and perks and blah, 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 blah for your money. But this is just like, I'm not a gifts person. And me and my friends, we don't do gifts either. Me and my family, we don't do gifts. If it's like someone's birthday, we don't really, we just don't do gifts. I just never grew up in a world of gifts. I never got gifts for my birthday, but I also never expected them. So I know it's very common to do gifts for most people, but I was never sad that I never got gifts because I was just never accustomed to the idea of gifts in the first place. And me and my friends were also very, we also don't do gifts somehow. Like none of my friends, even in different friend groups, have like, we just don't. Which I guess we've always been the kind of people where if we really wanted something, we would somehow work towards getting that thing. Either we had the disposable income and we just bought it, or if we didn't have money, it was like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. Or we found some way to work towards saving for it, earning it somehow. So that's kind of sort of the way it's always been for me and my friends. Anyways, the thing I was working on that was, I guess, so distracting. Usually, after a few hours of working, I get hungry. And it's been a trend that lately, sometime after breakfast, I'll work for 2 or 3 hours, and I'll get hungry to the point where I can't work on work anymore. But work requires concentration, and if you're uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, like being hungry, it just totally distracts your mind. So there's been a few times the last couple of weeks where it was like 2 or 3 hours since I had breakfast. I'm getting hungry, but I can't eat yet. We'll get to why I can't eat, but it was like another hour and a half or 2 hours before I can eat. But I was too hungry to be able to concentrate on doing actual work in front of the computer. So what I had to do was do something that I had to do anyways, but it's like mindless work, like clean the house, clean the bathroom, do the laundry, basically end up doing chores or maybe some errands around the house where it takes no brain power, it takes no thinking. You can just autopilot and do it, and it's stuff that I need to get done anyways. And would distract me until it was time to eat. Now, I couldn't just eat when I was hungry because the SIBO that I had before, which I kind of sort of still have now, maybe yes, no, I don't know. I don't know if it's gone or not gone. But SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is when the good bacteria that is supposed to be in your large intestines somehow migrate to your small intestines where they're not supposed to be. It's not bad bacteria. However, it's bacteria that's not supposed to be in your small intestines, and somehow they make its way there. So science is still not 100% sure why sometimes this happens. But anyways, I developed it back in March or April, whenever, and it's been like a journey to manage / get rid of it. So part of managing SIBO and also IBS as an extension is basically your body does this thing called, I forgot the exact name for it, but it's called MWC. I think it's the acronym. But basically, your gut, your digestive system will do these cleansing waves between meals, okay? And for your body to properly do these cleansing waves, which helps you balance out the bacteria and prevents SIBO, you are not supposed to eat for something like 4 to 5 hours, because when you ingest any calories, it stops these cleansing waves from happening. So if you're eating and snacking all the time, these waves don't happen. They do happen when you're sleeping, for example, but for someone who has IBS or who has SIBO, these types of conditions, it's useful for these waves to happen as often as possible. So the recommendation is you eat 3 meals a day and you don't eat anything. You can't have anything that has calories in it. All you can drink, you can't eat anything. All you can drink is water, tea with nothing added, and black coffee with nothing added. No sugar, no cream or anything, but that's our calories. So I would eat breakfast at like 9:30 or 10, and I have to wait 5 hours before I could eat anything else. This is on a day where I don't go to the gym and I'm just at home. So I would eat breakfast at 10, and I couldn't eat anything until 3, and then I couldn't eat anything again until 8. So I'm not used to that. I get hungry when we're just sitting at home. We get hungry very easily, right? So that's why I couldn't eat when I got hungry the last a few of the days over the past couple of weeks, because I had to wait the 5 hours so that my body can do these cleansing waves. And apparently, if you when you get hungry and your stomach gurgles, that's a sign of the cleansing waves like in action. It's like one of the phases of the cleansing waves. It's also a signal to you that you are starting to get hungry, but apparently that's when a phase of the cleansing waves is actually actively in progress. It's when you get the hungry gurgles from your stomach. So maybe that's TMI, but there you go. I was going to talk about me working on Patreon, and somehow somehow we end up talking about gurgles. But this is how this podcast works. I go on a lot of tangents. There's no script. I talk about whatever I want. But this is my podcast and not your podcast. Anyways, I am working on a Patreon. So a Patreon is where it's a website. It's a platform where people can support their favorite creators. I think a lot of you have heard of a Patreon. If you don't know what it is, just go Google it. But I mentioned, you know what? I'm on so many platforms nowadays. I forgot what I've said on this podcast and not. I'll just quickly summarize. But a lot of people on my Twitter, which is just for my PORN, have mentioned to me they don't want to subscribe to OnlyFans for whatever reason. And I can see that some people don't want to have anything to do with OnlyFans at all. Some people don't want to give money to OnlyFans. Like they don't want to put like the payment information or credit cards or whatever, because maybe it shows up on the credit card statements, or they don't want like other people to know. They don't even want it to visit the website on the computer, blah, blah, blah. Lots of different reasons. And nearly 100 people have told me in some way, shape, or form that they don't want to subscribe to my OF, and they would rather have something like a Patreon to support me or to get some sort of content that is not PRN. And that's a surprising number of people, especially for my Twitter, where 80-something people on my Twitter. I ran this poll on my Twitter, and I got 100-something responses, and I counted it, and 80-something of them, something like 2/3 of the respondents, said they agreed that they don't want to subscribe to my OF. They would rather have something like a Patreon. And that's kind of great for me because, well, that's good and bad for me. That's good for me because I kind of always wanted to create a Patreon because I really like this idea of creating a community of my fans that I get to have more interaction with, where I can offer them something extra, and where they get a chance to support me so I can kind of keep creating content. I really like that community idea, and the ability for them to support me, and I can like give them something back for that as well. So I always like the idea of Patreon, but it's always been, especially since before I started my OF, it's always been kind of like, well, it's a commitment, right? If I'm going to take your money for something, like a monthly subscription, I'm going to give you something, and I have to be able to deliver that something consistently every week, every month, for many months, years even, in a way that's like at a good quality. I don't want to just slap some shit together to give to people. Yeah, and that takes a lot of work. Content creation is a lot of work. To create like good quality content every single week takes a lot of work. And I've always thought, well, back, when I was more actively creating the YouTube content, the YouTube cruise videos and the party videos, for example, that takes work. And I was like, I wasn't even posting every week or even every month. It was just whenever I had like a trip or whenever I felt like it, really. And now that I moved on to the OF content, I do have a very strict schedule. It's 3 videos every week: Sundays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and each of these days of the week are a specific type or category of video. So it's extremely structured so that when people subscribe to me over there, they have a good idea of what they're getting. And I also upload short previews of every single video these 3 days a week onto my Twitter and onto Telegram. So for someone that wants to subscribe but they don't know exactly what it is, they go on my Twitter or my Telegram, and every time I post a full-length video on OF, there is a short little preview that goes up at the same time or sometime that week for free onto my Twitter or my Telegram. And I also have links to like a little guide, almost like a brochure, that describes, these are like the 3 days of the week. There's Super Sunday, there's Will Renew Wednesday, and there's Feature Friday. It's all alliteration. I was very proud of that. And these are the 3 types of videos, and this is how you can get all 3 of the videos, and also have write-ups of like what else is included beyond the videos if you subscribe. So yeah, to have that structure, create all that, it's a lot of work. It's a full-on business. But since there's so many people that have said they are interested in the Patreon and it's something I've wanted to do, I'm just in the planning phases of it. Because again, if I'm gonna take people's money and I need to give them something in return that is a consistently high quality that I can provide every week / every month in a reliable way. The worst thing is when you subscribe to your creator and it's not consistent, or the quality is like so-so, or like sometimes good, sometimes bad, or it's not reliable. You don't know where they're gonna post. You don't know what they're gonna post. You basically giving this person money every month and you don't know what you're getting, and you don't even know when they do give you something, is it something good, is it something bad? That's the worst thing. So that's something what I'm working on. I'm working on the different tiers, the benefits that I could offer to the people that would so generously be willing to fork over money to me on Patreon every single month. So if you have any ideas, if you would like to support or might be interested, this is not a commitment. If there's something that you would like to see on my Patreon, I'm in the process of just brainstorming and figuring out what all the benefits are that I can offer. So with this podcast, there could be some changes. What I'm thinking is there'll be an extra, quote unquote, uncut episode of the podcast that goes out just to the Patreon subscribers every single week. So I'll have the regular episode that I post on YouTube and on Spotify, and there'll be an extra second episode of the week, the uncut episode, on Patreon. And I'm thinking, if you're watching this on YouTube, unless you have YouTube Premium, or I think there are a few other YouTube, Google things you can subscribe to that will give you YouTube Premium, that actually takes away all the ads. I have YouTube Premium myself, because I have YouTube Music that I pay for. That's how I get all my music. And with YouTube Premium, basically, it's just no ads on YouTube. Most people don't have that. When they watch the podcast or a lot of other YouTube videos, they do see ads. If you watch the video on my Patreon, any of the podcast episodes on Patreon, there'll be no ads because it's not on YouTube, so there won't be ads at all. So that's something I'm exploring as a possibility in terms of like the podcast. Another idea that was kind of popular from the poll on Twitter is obviously the Twitter audience is all about my OnlyFans. And even the people that don't want the PORN, they are very curious about, they want kind of two things. They want to know behind the scenes what it's like to be a creator, like life of an OF creator, for example, or like some of the behind the scenes stuff that's like not PRN. That's stuff that I can pretty easily create. For example, when I do a collab with a creator, I can easily, take 5 minutes out and just have like a little chat with them. And that's some extra behind the scenes content that I can put not just on my OnlyFans, but I can also put on my Patreon. And it's not PRN, it's just me talking to another person. And maybe there'll be like little vlogs and little clips of me, of just behind the scenes of what it's like to be living the life of a content creator. All the stuff that you don't see. Like you see this, you see what's in front of the camera and in front of the lights and in front of the microphone, but like all the other stuff that you don't see, that some of it may or may not be so interesting, but that was something that people wanted to see. Another thing that people wanted were to just have a live stream with me, where I do a live stream maybe once a month or something, or I do like an AMA, something like that. I'm looking into Discord, which I'm not familiar with Discord. I know the concept of it, but I've never used it, and I don't know. I don't know how it can be leveraged, but apparently having a Discord server is very popular for a lot of Patreon's pages. So that's something I think I'll try to set up. But if there's something that you think would be cool to see on a Patreon, just comment down in the YouTube comments below. Let me know. That's the part where if it's something that I can feasibly do, again, if it's something that I can do feasibly, I can do at a good quality, consistently, month in and month out, then I would consider it for the Patreon. And I want to have different tiers as well some lower price tiers for those who are a bit on a budget but still want to show some support. And then some higher end tiers where you get more stuff for those who have a little bit more money, want to provide me some extra support in that way. Yeah, so that's what I have been working on in addition to the other business, which, like I said, hopefully will launch in about a month, and then you will all be the first to hear it. I'll be announcing it everywhere from like the rooftops. You won't be able to miss it. And maybe then I can actually put in some ads for that business into the podcast recording. It's like, I don't know, no one likes ads, but it's like you made it. You made it. Kind of one of the signs that you made it as a podcaster is when you have brand deals yourself, and you get to, in the actual podcast recording, have ads from your sponsors into the podcast episodes. So that would be kind of fun. I'll need to write my own copies. So when we launch, I'll insert some ads, one or two for that, for the new thing I'm launching, hopefully in a month, into the podcast. Unless you're subscribed to Patreon, then there's no ads. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. Let me know your thoughts. Keep the comments coming, not just about things you might want to see in the potential Patreon, but if you've got any general questions, comments about almost anything. The cruise, there's a couple cruises coming up. Well, there's the October. There's a couple. There's the October cruise coming up, the California to Mexico cruise. That's the last week of October. And then there is the 5-night Thanksgiving cruise that's sailing out of Florida and over Thanksgiving. So at the very end of November. And the next one after that is the big party cruise in February. But yeah. Any of you guys going on either that October Mexico cruise or the Thanksgiving cruise in November? Let me know. If you have any questions about those, I'd be more than happy to talk more about those on a future episode of the podcast as well. And I just heard the beep from my toaster oven, which means dinner is served. So until next time, bye y'all.